Summer League hasn't even officially started for a vast majority of the NBA teams this year, and we're already seeing a player stand out above the crowd of these rookies. Now, is it unfair to say this when a lot of the rookies haven't even played games yet? Maybe so, but I highly doubt that anyone is going to look as impressive as Darryn Peterson has through his first two Summer League games. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I definitely had questions about Darryn Peterson's game, but they weren't enough to deter me on my draft rating and where I thought he should go. And personally, I thought he was the best player in the class, even above AJ DePonsa. And I feel like a lot of people felt the same sentiment about him, but we're a little bit concerned about the injuries, and I find that fair and a decent observation. And if you are scared about it, hey, go ahead and go get AJ DePonsa, like what actually happened. And, I don't think you're going to be necessarily upset with AJ as a player because he was number 2 on my big board. And I thought he was just as good of a talent in many, many classes. It just happened that Darryn Peterson was in this one, and I fell in love with him as a prospect. Now, him as a prospect was a little concerning in certain degrees to me because I didn't know where he personally fit between the 1 and the 2, and to me, he felt more like a 2. And in today's NBA, that doesn't matter as much as it did maybe 10 or 15 years ago, where you're like, hey, where is he going to play? But to me, it still matters because as a franchise, when you're trying to set yourself up for success and long-term success, you want to know where your guys are going to fit in. But at the same time, I agree with the philosophy of drafting BPA, best player available. You can figure out the fit later, and you can go ahead and just try and win with him, develop him, and then fit around him, right? We can get players later in different drafts or in free agency that fit around his skill set. And to me, the situation feels very similar to what Anthony Edwards was in Minnesota. Now, I'm not saying they're the same type of player or that they have the same weaknesses or the same strengths, because I personally do not think so. Darryn Peterson, to me, does not have the bounce out of the gym athleticism that Anthony Edwards does have. But Darryn Peterson has a much better shot creation repertoire to his disposal coming into the National Basketball Association, which is something we didn't see with Anthony Edwards, where he had kind of developed that. I mean, if you remember, pretty much the first half of Anthony Edwards' rookie season, he looked like a potential bust, which you can potentially blame to how they used him and all that stuff. But we see this a lot with guards coming into the NBA, right? We see it with Trae Young. We saw it with Steph Curry in the Summer League when he was drafted, right? We see a lot of these high usage guards struggle with efficiency and also just how to find their role in the NBA. And that is even seen in the Summer League, right? But things can change as the season comes around. Obviously, talent is different, right? And also progression isn't always linear, right? Especially with rookies. We see a lot of times how players can look great in the Summer League and then struggle a little bit their first year when it comes to actual regular season games and vice versa, right? So I think personally with Darryn Peterson, this is nothing but a good sign. I mean, I'm not going to come out here and say, oh, well, we saw this player do good in the Summer League and suck in the regular season, because to me, his skill set translates directly to the NBA, and especially with the team that he's on in Utah, he's going to get the shots, right? I mean, they have a couple of shot makers and they have a couple of guys that are going to demand the ball, but to me, I think that it's necessary that Utah uses him as a guy who can both, facilitate the offense, but also get him his shots, because we want to develop him. He is the future of the franchise. He's not like a Lauri Markkanen to me, where, yeah, he's been a contributor and a key piece to your team over the past handful of seasons, but to me, you're not going to put all the eggs into the Lauri Markkanen basket when you could go ahead and put those eggs into the Darryn Peterson basket, which I think is much more fruitful of a tree, right? So to me, Darryn Peterson has been answering all of my questions. Coming into the association, my biggest question was where he fit. I mentioned that earlier, and what position was he truly? I'm still not entirely sure where he fits, but the question to me is not as important anymore after these first two Summer League games, right? We look at his statistics, we knew he was going to score the ball, right? That's something he was always going to do. It's something he did in college and especially in high school, right? He had a slight down year in college compared to what maybe people expected him to do, but that's because of injuries and everything else. But he still averaged almost 21 a game in college, and we're saying that's a down season. To me, that is insane, right? So in his first game, dropped 28 points on good efficiency, only 2 assists, which is a slight concern to me through his first Summer League action, but I was not going to knock him for it because, as I said, first Summer League action, coming in as a score first type of player, was not going to be concerned about it. 28 points per game on good efficiency is more than enough for me to judge a rookie, right? I'm personally happy with that way, way, way more than if he had, 7 assists and shot terribly and had, 8 points, right? I know what he is, right? I know that he's going to score the ball. And if he had struggled in his initial summer league action to score the ball, maybe a little bit of concern would have been built up there. But then you show me the second game that just happened the other day. And he plays a guy like Cameron Boozer, who him and AJ DeBonza and Cameron Boozer and all three of them have always been in these conversations over this past, let's say, 12 to 18 months. And then the draft comes around. Cam Boozer goes 3. AJ goes 1. Darryn Peterson falls right in between those two. And to me, I feel like we miss a lot of rivalries in the NBA today. And I don't want to say the league is soft and everybody's friends, but everybody's friends, right? And that's cool to some degree. But I feel like the rivalries are still missing in today's league. And what Darryn Peterson said to the effect of, he had an agenda against me. I know coming into this game, Cam Boozer had an agenda against me.
2 questions already. A lot of great players use anything to motivate them, right? And after the game, you talked about whenever you can assert dominance, you try to. Playing against Cam Boozer, another top 3 pick, a guy that there's a lot of discussion in the pre-draft process. Did you pull any motivation from that playing against him?
Always. I try to find something against everybody I play against. Yeah, he was the pick after me, so I know he probably had an agenda today as well. So I couldn't let that ride. Yeah.
And wanting to play, to his best ability against me and really play me off the court, right? And I love that energy, right? From both Cam Boozer, if that was the case, and also Darryn Peterson, because I want them to clash heads, right? They were 2 and 3 in the same draft class. They are guys that are viewed as building blocks of teams that could potentially, right, compete against each other in the playoffs. So to me, having these guys, have this rivalry is exciting, especially to see it early in the summer league. And also, this goes to, without mentioning what we saw out of Darryn Peterson in this game. As I mentioned the first game, right? 28 points, couple assists. That's a very, very good game for a rookie in his first summer league action. But then to go ahead and, top that in his second summer league game against that number 3 pick, where he drops a 25 piece and 12 assists, answering all my questions about where he fits and how he's going to, distribute the basketball. And I'm going to keep comparing him to Anthony Edwards because to me, those were 2 scoring guards and you didn't really know where they were going to be in the playmaking department, right? And to me, showing the 12 assists, and you go back and watch the film, you can go watch highlights, film, every possession, whatever you want to do. There were quite a few possessions where, hey, it's not a fancy pass, it's a pass to the open man, right? And you might say, well, 12 assists, yeah, but if 6 of them or 5 or 4 or whatever was to an open man, the easiest pass on the court that you could make, and the guy hit the shot, and you kind of use that to nullify his achievement, to me, that's disingenuous. Because first of all, not every guard comes in the league, especially a scoring guard, and says, let's make the easy pass. Anthony Edwards didn't do it, right? So when you see a guy like this come in and be willing to make not only the extra pass, but the easy one, right? The one that's right in front of him that he knows, hey, I should make this pass. But I see a lot of times when these scoring guards come into action and come into the association, you see, hey, I want to create a shot for myself. I want to prove myself as an offensive scorer because that's what I'm considered. But what I saw out of Darryn Peterson in this second game was a guy who was not only willing to make the easy pass and make the extra pass, but a guy that was looking for his teammates, right? This is different than even going beyond, I guess, even going beyond the concept of, oh, let's just make the easy pass. Like, let's start there. To me, it was impressive that he was willing to create shots for his teammates rather than just himself. Obviously, Summer League is one thing because talent really ramps up, not only later in the Summer League, once you get a lot of these top-tier rookies playing against each other, but also once the actual season starts and also the preseason. That's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Darryn Peterson. I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to adapt just fine at some point during the during the regular season. To me, though, I could see him struggling at one point, and I am not going to write him off. And I'm not going to write him off early, and I'm not going to write him off halfway through the season. If he's struggling by the All-Star break, I don't have a problem with it, right? find your ground as a rookie on a team that has historically struggled over the past, let's say, handful of years, right? Since they got rid of Donovan Mitchell and got rid of Rudy Gobert. And then even before that, it wasn't like you were, winning a ton of championships, right? So to me, it's important to keep the rookie in line, right? And what I mean by that, I don't mean like, oh, you missed a couple shots, stop taking them. What I mean is I want him to have his confidence all the time, right? To me, that's so important to a scoring guard. If he loses his confidence, there's a good chance he becomes a bust. And to me, Darryn Peterson doesn't seem like a guy that would lose his confidence even after 10 or 15 or 20 rough games in a row. He seems like a guy that is kind of confident in who he is as a person, as a player, and that is something that's, a feat that a lot of scoring guards need to have great big time success in the NBA. And there was a lot of concerns about his injuries and did he really want to play? And to me, I just didn't buy it, right? I never bought he doesn't want to play, or once he gets to the NBA, he's going to be a guy that just sits out games. Because to me, he seems like the ultimate competitor, right? A guy that wants to score the ball, but also get his teammates open shots, as we saw in this past Summer League game. A guy that has stated many, many times that he wants to win at the highest level. And to me, it's a little bit unfair to discredit him because from what I understand, a lot of his injury concerns from this past season were to do with cramps. We saw it with Paulo Banchero, and I know Paulo didn't have the best season last year, but it was not to do with injury or anything of the likes. So to me, finding out that was mainly the concern for him this past collegiate season it pretty much nullified the issue to me, and that's why I could confidently keep him at the number 1 spot on my big board for this past draft. So for me, Darryn Peterson has been answering all my questions. We'll continue to see throughout the Summer League what he continues to do, if he struggles at all, or if he one-ups these performances he's had over the past, let's say week, not even. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about Darryn Peterson's Summer League so far, what you think he can be in the association, and what you think that, we'll see from him and other rookies over the next week or two while the Summer League really starts to kick into action and we start to see these rookies play some real basketball for the first time since they've been drafted. Anyway, guys, it's been your boy Jelson, so please remember, like, subscribe if you did enjoy or find anything interesting about the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.